and this coaching staff very happy.
A great chapter to begin.
Let's go! Still on his feet. Slip the tackle. 20, 15, 10.
To celebrate the legacy of Jackie Robinson. His 103rd birthday would be today. And so without further ado, Doc.
Thank you, Naomi. Guys, this is a real treat. First off, the Dodgers, we want to welcome you guys here. I remember being your age and having an opportunity to talk to, you know, major league players and NFL players. And so for me now to be where I'm at right now and look at you guys and look at the man behind me right now, it's going to be a special day. And I think part of my job and the thing that gives me some of the most joy with my job is being a storyteller. And I think that, you know, you guys know the name Jackie Robinson and how he impacted even you guys today. But to hear it from me, to hear it ultimately from his son David, which we're going to get the opportunity to do in a little bit, it's going to be really rewarding, exciting, and it's also going to allow you guys and equip you guys to tell the story yourself. And that's what creates a legacy and ultimately is history. And so for me to be the first man of color to manage the Dodgers, also be biracial, have Asian descent, to manage the Los Angeles Dodgers is something I hold very dear to my heart. And never in my wildest years would I have imagined me managing the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's crazy. I pinch myself all the time because you look at thank you. You look at the Dodgers, and there's very few organizations that are kind of known worldwide and for a lot of different things. And today, as we look, this is going to be the 75th year on April 15th that Jackie Robinson put on this Dodger uniform. And what does that mean? He was a Hall of Fame baseball player. He won the World Series. He was an MVP. But for me, there was a guy named Don Newcomb who was sort of a little brother to Jackie Robinson. And Jackie rode him hard. And Jackie was unique in the way that not only the color of his skin, but knowing what he had to endure off the field and in the clubhouse to still perform at a high level. And so now when you're talking about Jackie Robinson and the civil rights movement, and you're talking about MLK, Martin Luther King, saying, I couldn't have done what I did without Jackie Robinson. And Jackie Robinson is not just about the color of our skin. It's about gender, girls, men, women, and different nationalities. And it's about equality for everybody. So where you can look at yourself as saying, hey, I'm a softball player, I'm a daughter, I'm a baseball player, I'm a son, I'm a teammate. It's the challenge that Jackie took upon himself that he was so much more than that. And softball is going to come and go, baseball is going to come and go for all of us. But your legacy and how you impact everyone around you, that's something that can and should last forever. So that's something for me. Every time I put this uniform on, people, you guys can see me, and I get excited for my players, and being able to tell the story of Jackie and people like him, it's a responsibility. So how I go about my day-to-day life and elevate Jackie and do right by him, I think it's my responsibility as a manager of the Dodgers. So that's why when Naomi and the Dodgers asked me to come here today, this is something I look forward to every year. And having obviously a chance to connect with you. You guys went to the same school as Jackie Robinson. It's like, you guys are lucky. I didn't have that luxury. So, I mean, you guys walk those same, stairs and hallways, and it's really amazing. So, without further ado, I think that's it right now, right, Naomi? And we're gonna, what's my next step?
Yeah. So we're gonna head over right this way, and we'll start.
Let's take a picture too. Can we take a picture? Yeah. So let's all take a picture. I'm gonna put my mask back on. We're gonna take a picture, and then we're gonna all head over there, and then I'm gonna introduce you guys to David Robinson, who is essentially spent his whole adult life trying to get racial equality for everyone. And he spent his time in Tanzania, here in the United States. He's got 10 kids, which is amazing. So David's a friend of mine. Rachel, Jackie's wife, friend, and Sharon, his daughter, good friends of mine. So to talk to David, this is gonna be a fun thing. So I get to do my question asking, so I might need your guys' help too later, but we get to ask David some questions. So let's take a picture.
We're going to take John's lead here.
All right, Doc, right here. Kids, can you guys get on both sides of the dog?
All right, guys. Right now, we just made a little introduction. We sat down, we're all comfortable, and took a picture. So without further ado, I'd like to help us better understand the legacy of the man behind the uniform and the impact he continues to leave on the world. I'd like to welcome his son, David Robinson. David.
Thank you, Doctor.
So, David, we're so thrilled to have you, man, and to be able to speak to the legacy of your father. For those of you guys who don't know, like I said a little bit, David has spent his entire adult life essentially serving race and elevating and wanting to promote equality for everyone. And he split a lot of his time in Tanzania, I think, right, David?
That's correct.
Right, Tanzania. He's got 10 kids. He spends time here. And make sure my mask is okay. Oh, I can take it off. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I can take my mask off. So David also is on the board of directors with the Jackie Robinson Foundation, and he plays an integral part in that as well. Let me see what else we got here, David. There's so much about you. I want to hear about this coffee too. So he's been involved in international economic development in the coffee industry, which is amazing. And like I said, his entire adult life has been involved in the development of racial and human equality. So David, welcome and thank you for being here.
Doctor, I appreciate the invitation, your invitation, the Dodgers, and I appreciate being together with the students of John Muir High School.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And thank you so much, David. And as a father myself and being a son, obviously, and we just can't fathom the legacy and the bloodlines and having your dad is Jackie Robinson, and we're just so grateful that you and your family continue to tell this amazing story. So for me, who's a friend of the family, I'm just so indebted to you. So these are 60 students from Muir High School, softball and baseball players, and we can't wait to get to know you. So with that, David, did your father have any favorite stories as a youth, kind of when they were their age, that you could share with us?
Well, Doctor, first of all, let me congratulate all of the students and team members in softball and baseball at the high school, and to let you know that as athletes, I have to figure you have seen relay races in your time. Just want to let you know that in a shorter period than you would expect, the baton of leadership will be passed to you for you to carry your leg as successfully as your legs and brain can carry you. So I let you know that it's coming, to get yourself ready, because all who came before you and all who will be ahead of you will depend on how you run your leg of this relay. Now, to the story, 95 years ago, this is before Jackie Robinson entered baseball, before the creation of the statue. 95 years ago, my father is a kid in the streets of Pasadena. Challenges, trouble, opportunities. The kids in the neighborhood formed a little group called the Pepper Street Gang. They were going to look out for each other, and they were practicing working together as a single unit to be the best, the champions of Pepper Street and Pasadena youth groups. One of the boys in that group was a man named Jack Gordon. Jack Gordon, 70 years ago, left Pasadena with my father, came to the East Coast, and they continued that close relationship. Jack Gordon's son became like my older brother and my brother's brother and a member of the family, and the Gordons and the Robinsons have spent all of these years as extended family. So I grew up with my father's running buddy, his son, as an older brother. 10 years ago, Brad Gordon's daughter became our family accountant, trusted, professional, managing what money we have and being able to allocate. The purpose and the moral of the story is you all are teammates today in high school. And there's things that you can be learning about playing together, winning, planning, and unity and loyalty are going to be factors in the success of your game of high school sports or in life. And so, as Jackie Robinson found, it's not only the unity that you create at the moment, but you're going to be looking at the potentials of creating unity over generations. So as Jackie Robinson's extended family and running buddies from the old days in Pasadena stayed together for 3 generations and built the strength that unity can deliver, you all have that opportunity in your lives. And just as you're going to be part of the teams in baseball, part of the relay race of human development, what you learn now as teammates is something that can translate into your future and future generations. So carry on and keep your ears open, huh?
Wow, David, that was fantastic. Thank you. Wow. I mean, just to frame that, the relay race of life, the unity, and just kind of getting a story of Jackie and how Jackie and the people that impacted him in his life. As I look to my left, I see the statue of your father in center field, the entrance point of Dodger Stadium. And my guess is that 100 years ago, 95 years ago, as you mentioned, I don't think Jackie envisioned a statue of himself being unveiled at Dodger Stadium. So this is the 5th year of that unveiling. So when your mom, your sister were here, when we unveiled that statue of your father, can you talk about some of the emotions you guys had?
Yeah, Doc. You know, I remember it was a beautiful day. Sun was shining, great weather. Dodger Stadium was like looming very large in the background. Former Dodger players, teammates of my father were there, contemporary players. We saw some fans up on the stands. So it was described, you know, as a momentous occasion, and it was. It was a glorious moment, and it was. It was something that we were all proud of, and something that honored both a man and qualities that we feel are important and vital to life and the sustaining of life. But I know my father would have commented that even in that moment of glory and momentous feelings, one had to remember the centuries, the decades, the thousands of years of struggle that led up to that one moment. And that one moment should not, the glitter and glamour of that one moment should never blind us from the realities of how we got to that moment, the suffering and the sacrifices and the work that was carried on to get us to that moment, and what still has to come in the years, decades, and generations in the future. You students at John Muir are the inheritors of that challenge, and you also should not be blinded by any glorious moments or any glitter that comes your way in whatever form, because that's not necessarily the real dynamic that is going to carry you forward, that's going to generate understanding for you. Understand the history of the moment. And when you understand that history, yes, you will celebrate and be proud, but you will also pause and have to look ahead and say, how much work do we have to go? And you all, I think, you're high school students, but you know that answer now. We still have a long, long way to go in human development in order to reach a place where all human beings are exercising their potential in freedom and with dignity.
That's so good, David. Wow. And you said all human beings. You didn't say white, black, male, female. You said all human beings. I love that. There's an old adage, behind every good man, there's a great woman. And I believe that. Can you speak to a little bit your mom and how she supported, lifted up Jackie when he was going through, when he was mired in trying to perform in the big leagues, when his teammates, some of his teammates didn't like him and he wasn't accepted, his opponents didn't like him, wasn't accepted, off the field, he was just a black man, not wanted. So what was her role in that? And also her role in preserving his legacy through the foundation?
Well, you know, I'm really speaking again to the young people in the audience. Marriage for Jack and Rachel Robinson, for many couples who are blessed in this life, is a life partnership. And that partnership comes with bearing the burdens of life equally between the two parties. And my mother was certainly there at every turn with my father during those difficult years to help ease the burden of the weight that integrating Major League Baseball and helping to integrate American society put on my father's shoulders. You know, I don't know what courses they teach in high school these days, but young people, anytime you get a chance to study a course that might be entitled Relationship Management and Development, you know, if they've got courses on marriage, that's going to be the most important partnership that you are going to be having in this life. You may be members of teams, members of corporations. You may take on any field or any profession in your lifetime, but you will be partnering with people, whether it's a wife or a business partner or an employer, learning those skills of managing those relationships successfully is going to build strength for you and whatever team it is that you're on. Too many of our households today are single parent managed. Already half your team is not on the field because of a lot of reasons, but all of those reasons are things that we have to learn to cope with and to surpass. Every household needs two parents to try to raise a family successfully. And so we have got to fight all of those issues that would keep us away from building a strong family, building strong children, and building a relationship with a spouse. So, so my mother was there with my father in partnership in life and in partnership after he passed in order to sustain the things that were important to Jackie Robinson. And part of what Jackie Robinson understood was the question of generations. And so what the foundation did as its first initiative was to set up scholarships for young people like yourselves who are getting ready to leave high school with great academic performance, but shortage of money. And that those scholarships would be there for students to be able to help them get into college and develop their full potential as human beings. And so the legacy of Jackie Robinson was the abilities of Jackie Robinson were strengthened by his partnership with his wife, Rachel Robinson, and the legacy of Jackie Robinson was furthered and is being carried out until this day by the commitment of that life partnership that a successful marriage will bring to any one of us, and I hope it brings to each and every one of you young people who are in the audience today.
Wow, well said. And, you know, one takeaway right there is there's people out there, you know, certainly with the Jackie Robinson Foundation and many other foundations, the organization, the Dodger Foundation, that care about each one of you guys individually. And we all have a different lot in life. And I tell my own kids, everyone has their own path. Your path is not my path, is not your path, is not her path, is not his path. We all have a different path. And just to touch on a little bit about what David said, it's just as you guys continue to build relationships and get through school, and he mentioned education, the one thing that really landed with me in my life is people don't care what you know until they know you care. And so academics and all that stuff is so valuable, but being a part of that team and relationships and serving other people and building friendships and keeping friendships is just as important. And the scholarships and opportunities that David and the Jackie Robinson Foundation is talking about, it's for well-rounded kids, young men and women that are dynamic and diverse and want to be a part of a team. So really, really good stuff, David. To go a little bit on the light side right now, let's talk a little bit about your father. Are there any anecdotes that you could share with us to kind of peel back the curtain on who Jackie Robinson was as a father? Hobbies, snacks, foods that he liked, favorite musician, different things that he liked to do that we would love to hear about.
Well, Doc, I tell you, I don't know. I don't think there was a morning in my childhood when I got up that there were not grits made and ready on the stove in our family's kitchen. And whether my father was still there or had gone to work already, he left those grits. He loved his grits. I grew up in loving grits. My wife knows how to take Tanzanian corn and turn it into grits. So Jackie Robinson was a basic man. And I think he was a man who saw a need, saw it in his own life, wanted to fulfill it, and really committed his life. He grew up without a relationship with his father, but he made sure that he was a father in the house and spent time with his children and showed his love every opportunity he got. It has been questioned, you know, what was the motivation of Jackie Robinson to do all that he did in civil rights? Look back at his life. Jackie Robinson sat in a room with his grandmother, who was born a slave, and his mother, who was born a sharecropper. And he was able to see the suffering in the past and the potential suffering in the future. And even when he left baseball, the issues of race and human development were there. So he was a man who responded to those things because he was a man who saw himself as just part of life, but someone who could impact on life, and saw that even the opportunity in terms of integrating baseball was something that was unique and dynamic, which came to him, but that he as a man was going to respond to that in a way that would benefit all of us. He loved golf. After baseball, We moved to Connecticut. He and my mother built a large house with lawns in the front and the back of the house. One of the things he liked to do was go out and hit golf balls over the house. And one of my pleasures was to be on the other side of the house with a baseball glove, catching the balls, collecting his golf balls, and bringing them back to him. But he was a man, as I say, who enjoyed simple pleasures. I don't think of him as an intellectual who would drag you down with long statements, but the poignancy of what he was able to teach me and his children as a father in the most basic words was more impacting than college lectures. So I loved him. We loved him. Quick story. Just before Jackie Robinson was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, African-American comes up to him on the street and says, "Jackie, when the day you get inducted into the Hall of Fame is going to be the happiest day of my life." Shook hands with my father. They parted ways. My father later commented and say, "Isn't that interesting? That when I get inducted into the Hall of Fame, that's going to be the happiest day of that man's life." And what it just translates into, your life can be so integrated into the life of your fellow human beings that they are you and you are they. And again, the unity and joy that can be achieved by being a person of the people is huge.
Wow, that's amazing, David. And I'm a big grits guy too. So do you like your grits with salt, or are you a sugar guy and butter?
Oh, no sugar, brother. No.
Hey, well then we're at odds right now, because I'm about sugar and butter.
I don't even want the cheese.
David, that's really good stuff. And you know what's interesting, guys, is we're doing a lot of, obviously, talking about Jackie Robinson, the man. And not that he was a 4-star letterman at UCLA, football, basketball, baseball, track, and you have a man that glows when he talks about his father. And something that you just said, David, that landed with me was the responsibility, in the sense of that man said that it was going to be the happiest day of his life once you get named to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And what that means to me, guys, is when you look out beyond yourselves and feel that your success and how you do things affects him, affects you, affects you, affects you, that becomes a responsibility. And so I don't think there's a man that's really walked this earth that had the responsibility of an entire race. And now you look beyond, decades later, and it's well beyond race. So everything David's father did, every single day, everything he did was watched, and he was scorned and disliked and hated. But how he responded to everything affected all of us. And so to be able to take that burden on, that takes a very strong person, but a very humble person to look out well beyond their own person. So that's something for me, David, I really take to heart, and thank you for sharing that. You kind of touched on a little bit. Is there one big lesson that you kind of take from your father? I mean, I know there's so many things, but is there one lesson that you can share with us that he taught you?
You know, as I said, my father taught with his life, I believe. And what his life taught me very early on, you know, we had a trophy room in our house fairly substantial room. The front glass case had all kind of baseball awards. There was a gold-plated baseball shoe, a lot of awards. On the back and around the room were plaques, and all of those plaques talked about. This plaque was given in recognition of service, in recognition of loyalty, in recognition of sacrifice for, in recognition of contribution towards development. And, you know, I had the opportunity in my life to be blessed to see a fair amount of wealth, a fair amount of power, been in the presence of presidents, have been in some of the most expensive hotels in the world, been around some rich people. Nothing ever measured up to the importance of the words on those plaques. I couldn't see any dollar amount, and my father never became a wealthy man, and his objectives were never to become a wealthy man. Wealth was not the issue in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Development, what you were doing for your fellow man, for your race, and therefore humanity. Those were the issues. So that was what I learned from my father, from that generation, from that era. And I hope young people can get a sense today, because there are a lot of distractions in this world, a lot of focus on material gains, a lot of credit given for wealth, when in fact, what my father taught, the most valuable thing that my father taught me was the value of service. And I have spent, as you indicated, I've spent my life working in New York in cooperative housing, creating, having families themselves build housing at an affordable rate. I've spent the last 30 years as a coffee farmer in Tanzania, working with small-scale coffee farmers to, again, bring human talent, human skills, human dignity into a global environment. So as Jackie Robinson opened the sport of baseball and American society to the African-American community, so we hope to be doing with the coffee industry in bringing small-scale family-owned farmers into the global industry, where they can benefit from that industry and bring resources and dignity back to their communities. And so the objectives of my life, I credit my parents and that generation with being able to present that vision to me of what is important. And again, young people, I hope that you are able to look into your parents' faces, to look into your children's faces, to look into your neighbors' faces, and see a motivation within their lives and your life to become an impactor, a developer of human opportunity.
Well said, David. I want to kind of piggyback that a little bit. I always told myself that I wasn't going to be an adult, a grown-up that said, those young kids don't get it. They're not as tough as I was. I'll tell you this, and I can stand by that because David touched on it a little bit. Every generation goes through challenges. Your generation has gone through so much, and it's called for you guys, demanded for you guys to be nimble, to adjust, and you guys are out here wearing masks and doing classes online. With social media now, all the stuff that we have access to, 99% of it isn't even real. And so kind of what David is talking about because everyone's putting on their best lives. And what it comes down to is family, relationships, working hard, servant leadership, service. And for me, some of the people that have the most success monetarily with money are the most unhappy. So I think that just kind of understanding what's important in life, and clearly Jackie understood that well beyond his years. Last question, and then I'm going to open it up to questions for David. So, David, you're the son of an icon, and many think of our children, our own families, our communities. As the son of an icon legend, what advice would you share with these students about the lessons you've learned about the importance of following your own dreams and making your own path?
You know, Doc, I believe my life and everybody's existence is built on the history of our families and humanity. And to a certain extent, if you're able to look beyond, as you mentioned, looking beyond yourself, identifying yourself as more than a single individual whose life by itself has some great meaning, and are able to look back into the centuries, into the generations, or able to look ahead, I would say, as you again just indicated, every generation can have and should have a dream and a path to follow. But if you look closely at the dream and the path, you might see the dream of your ancestors within your own dream. You might find that the path that was left for you to clear, to open, to work through, because the road has not been fully traveled yet. The struggle that your ancestors went through for the opportunity that they believed in, for the freedom and dignity and dreams that they believed, that has not been accomplished yet. So to a certain extent, we should have our own dreams and our own directions, but the dreams of humanity have yet to be realized, and that is an inheritance that we all are both rewarded with and have the responsibility to attempt to achieve, because we are here because of what others have gone through. And again, there is joy. There's a saying, victory or defeat is in the hands of the gods, but the struggle should be man's joy and is his obligation. So dream, look for your own path, but see what it is that you are servicing. And you might find with great pride that you are servicing the objectives and the direction that was given to you by those in the past, and who are and a dream that is desired by your children and grandchildren, because we all want to live in a world where all of us have the opportunity for peace and dignity and prosperity. And that's going to require a certain dream, a certain sacrifice, and a certain path.
Thank you, David. Thank you. That's fantastic. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Robinson? Yes, right there. Go up there. We have the microphone right there, please. Thank you.
How did it feel when he was playing a game?
So how did it feel when he was playing Jackie a game? Robinson was playing a game?
Young, as we're talking about generations in age, young lady, I was I did not see my father play professionally, or if I saw him, I was too young. I was born in 1952, so he was 5. I was 5 when he retired from baseball. What I remember very vividly were the old timers games. And, you know, you're dressed as a ball player, you know about playing ball. It's a great environment. You're out, particularly the professional baseball fields. I mean, they are impressive. So I've been on them. It's a great and grand feeling to be part of that team. But I think to be part of any team is a great feeling. So I was never a part of that team, but to see my father as part of that team, you know, I was enjoying with him. I was proud with him, and I'm great. I'm thankful. I'm happy that you're having that experience in your life today with sports.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the question. Next question. And if you guys have questions, you guys can make a line over there.
My one question is, what did your dad teach you about being a better human being in society?
What did my father teach me about being a better human being in society?
Yes.
Well, I tell you, here's something, as I told you, a man of few words. He said, son, respect women like you respect your mother. Now, that's not a great complicated explanation, and, you know, there's some details that are left out. But believe me, that simple phrasing and that simple concept of respect, best advice I could have gotten in terms of dealing with women in my life. So, you know, that respect is something that Jackie Robinson wanted and that he was prepared to give. And so I also, you know, want to demand respect, but must also give that respect and act in a respectful manner. And that can be not only for the moment, but also for a lifetime.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Next question.
How do you feel about the number 42 being brought back for Mariano Rivera?
I'm sorry, being brought back?
They brought the number out of retirement.
Oh, well, you know, I think it's a great thing if you're able to go into retirement for a period of time, you know, and be honored and worn in special ceremonies by all the players in baseball, and then all of a sudden you're brought back out of retirement. How much more glorious is that? Can it be than that? So, and I know that more honor and respect will be delivered to the number 42 in the years to come.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, Mariano, there's kind of a grandfather rule where he was number 42 throughout his career, and then once Major League Baseball decided to retire number 42, they allowed a couple players that had had the number prior to still wear the number. So as David said, it's a huge honor, and that 42 will live forever.
Thank you.
Hi. My question is, how can we as students and students of John Muir continue the legacy that Jackie Robinson left behind?
Oh, I think you have opportunities every single day to continue that legacy. I mean, every day you relate to your teachers, your fellow students. If you can perfect your ability to relate with respect and in peace, boy, that you will be continuing a legacy of trying to develop a type of unity amongst humanity. I tell my kids all the time, working to develop the language, the behavior that will create peace and nonviolence in our home and in society. It happens where you are every day. So just go out there and enjoy school, enjoy your teachers, your fellow students, but use it as a training exercise to relate in a peaceful, respectful manner. And Jackie Robinson and all the great figures in history will be grateful and honored by your behavior.
Well
Thank
said,
you so
David.
much.
Great question. Couple more questions.
How you doing? My question is, how much did Jackie Robinson's legacy determine what you wanted to do in your life?
I went to Africa the first time in the company of my mother, financed by my mother and father. So my parents showed me the world when I was in between age 10 and age 15. So in showing me the world, that obviously had a huge impact on my future decision to go and work in Africa. But it's almost a total embracing of a parental and mission of past generations. Development, human progress. That's something that Jackie Robinson got from his grandmother and his mother. His grandmother told him, son, get us beyond slavery. His mother told him, son, I'm going to be a domestic and clean and bring home leftovers from somebody else's table so that you can develop. That is a mission that was passed on to me in totality. What I've done is I've taken it to an international level where dynamics are today and where we can embrace a great deal more than just the national dynamic. But today, all of humanity is looking to participate in society in an equitable way. And certainly coffee farmers who are contributing billions of dollars to the global economy, they are looking for a fair share. And it's the same fair share and opportunity that African Americans were looking for. And just as American society benefited, so we believe the global society will benefit from farmers all over being able to get a fair share of the income that they produce.
Thank you.
Great question. One more, last question right here.
All right. Knowing that your dad played baseball, did you ever want to build on the legacy of him?
My brother played Little League and then Babe Ruth League. He was pretty good at it. I may not have been the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I was smart enough to be able to see that trying to follow your father's footsteps, such footsteps as Jackie Robinson, which could really not be, there can only be one first to open up Major League Baseball in American society. I never followed that path. I played, I think it was lacrosse, in the season where baseball was played. In the wintertime, my sport was ice hockey. Love my father and wanted to emulate him in the important essences of his life, but I would never try to follow up on his career in baseball.
All right.
That's a great question right there. David, you're going to like this one. I just got a little note that the Los Angeles Dodgers, we signed 2 players from Uganda.
Yes.
And these are guys that this has been a plan, a process. We have this facility in Uganda, and it's been about 3 years. So to kind of untap people that have never played the game of baseball, so to see it come to fruition and enjoy the fruits of 2 potential major league players from Uganda. Who would have thought that we would have had players from Uganda playing professional baseball? So we're on our way, David. There's more work to be done.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. I have been to Uganda. I've seen the fields that the Dodgers and the training program the Dodgers have. I believe it's closer to 5 years.
Okay.
It is no short-term initiative, but at this point there is a computer center that has been built in Tanzania, neighboring to Uganda, by the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Tanzanian Baseball and Softball Association, because the Dodgers not only recognize that there's talent globally, but that talent has to be developed not only as baseball players, but as educated human beings. So yes, the Dodgers are going global. They are global, and that's an important initiative.
Wow. Very, very good, David. Hey, we know that your father has an iconic legacy, but from me to everyone and people from all over the world, you've created and are continuing to build on your own legacy. So, David, we just can't thank you for being so honest, transparent, and peeling back the curtain on your father, your mom, and your family. What a treat.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you all.
So real quick, can we bring up Dr. Lawton? Dr. Lawton, let's give Dr. Lawton a hand. Dr. Lawton, so we wanted to bring you up here and recognize you individually. You, not single-handedly, but you have really helped transform this school. And as an alum, too, right now on behalf of myself, the Los Angeles Dodgers, to the baseball and softball program, in honor of the late, great Jackie Robinson, we would like to donate $5,000. I got to get in here.
Wow, thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Go
Stangs!
Go Stangs! Let's go! That's right. Dr. Lawton, thank you very much, and thank you for everything you do for the community. All right. I think we're good right now, so right now we're going to make our way.
First of all, let's give Dave Roberts a hand.
Thank you.
He loves you. He took the time to be with you today, and we thank you. We thank David Robinson. Thank you, David Robinson, for being with us. We're wrapping it up. They're going to have lunch. Enjoy the scenery.
Enjoy the scenery. Thank you guys for spending today with me at Dodger Stadium, my office. And I just want to encourage each one of you guys to just blaze your own trail, create your own path, do it the right way, and anything is possible. I'm speaking from, I've lived it. Anything is possible. I wish you guys all the best. And as Naomi said, I love each and every one of you guys.
We're going to make our way now right over here. Lunch is right behind you. Thank you.